I don't think the media, government, celebrities, and corporate class really cares about our health. I think it's pretty obvious they make us less healthy and don't care about us, and if you give me a few minutes, I could prove that pretty easily. CNN put out an article, got vaccinated, here's all the free stuff you can get. Budweiser, alcohol, Junior cheesecake, desserts, Krispy Kreme donuts, Nathan's hot dogs, and White Castle. Keep in mind it's mainstream knowledge now. The CDC study finds about 78% of the people hospitalized for COVID were overweight or obese. COVID-19 death rates 10 times higher in countries where most adults are overweight, report finds. So the way the government, media, and corporate class wants to health you is to give you alcohol, donuts, dessert, and fast food because they really care about you. How dumbed down and brainwashed are people? This is getting pathetic. The World Health Organization found that alcohol consumption is responsible for 1 in 20 deaths globally each year. That's around 3 million people annually. Of course, binge drinking soared during lockdown, say multiple studies and surveys, but they don't care about your mental, physical, or psychological health. Just here, take a donut and a beer, congratulations. Even the New Jersey governor's in on it. Here, you got vaccinated, have a beer. I don't know if that's the best combination, but you're not supposed to question these people who really care about your health. Despite shamelessly making people more obese on every front, while obesity is a driving factor in illness, here's a really easy example to show how they destroyed our physical health during the lockdowns. Think about the human body like a car. You can't just leave the car sitting for a year or during the winter. You have to keep it moving. And the older you are as a human being, it's like a car with more miles on it. It gets even harder to start up again. So when they say they're helping your elders by quarantining and locking them down and taking away resources and gyms and public gatherings where they get to communicate and laugh and converse, something that has been found in studies to keep people long living, which they took away, they're abusing the elders just like they're abusing everybody. It's not healthy to stop someone from moving. And they stopped billions of people on this planet from moving around, having a schedule, having a job, working out, seeing their family, and nobody wants to talk about that? It's so obviously costly on the human body. They are physically abusing and hurting people. You can't just stop people, especially the elderly. It's the worst thing in the world to stop an elderly person from their schedule. These shameless, disgusting, horrible people acting like they're helping you won't even admit that and try to censor you for bringing it up. Do they care about your physical health, your grandma's physical health, your kids' physical health by shutting down sports and giving them free Krispy Kreme? Duh. No, they don't. And the more you cave to these people and the more you act like it's so great what they're doing, the more they're going to do it. The more they're going to hurt children, the more they're going to hurt elders. They are hurting our physical health. Now let's go to psychological and mental health. I could show you dozens of mainstream articles and studies, but it shouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how social isolation, lockdowns, and forcing people to put cloth over their breathing hole and smile, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out how this is psychologically and mentally abusive. Everybody knows it. Everybody thinks it. Some people like it more. There's some benefit to it, of course, but there's an obvious downside mentally and psychologically, and they don't even want you to say that. Are we slaves now that we have to put cloth over our breathing holes for 40 hours a week everywhere we go when we travel? And if we just dare suggest that there are downsides to it when there obviously are, that's a thought crime offense that can get us fired, kicked off of social media, or outcasted from certain groups. This is disgusting. This just shows how group mentality can lead to abuse. Oh, how did that happen during World War II? Oh, let's fire Gina Carano for saying how could this happen during World War II, when she's exactly right. It's not that hard to figure out how. Just look in the mirror. So on top of psychological, physical, and mental abuse, there's also reports coming out that these lockdowns didn't even really work. Because to anybody with half a brain that isn't just dialed into media, celebrities, and politicians, it's not hard to figure out why human slavery, abusing elders, abusing society, shutting down gyms and health facilities and sports, it's not that hard to figure out why that doesn't work, you sicko abusive drones. And the people screaming science, 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 science so clearly don't care about the data and science, it's so obvious it's not even funny. But just to give you an example, I like to watch the NBA, and they make coaches wear a mask, yet because players can't hear them with cloth over their mouth, they pull it up and down hundreds of times during the game, while 10 sweaty players sweat all over each other without a mask and then go back to the bench and wear a mask while their coach up and downs that. Not only is that not science, it's disgusting, unsanitary, and I would think worse. Just take a clip of how ridiculous these rules are.
The best free thrower maybe in the history of the game. Work that side out of bounds play. She probably worked on it different points in the season. And while Halliburton got in for a layup, the Warriors didn't allow a three, which was good. Either fuck.
People follow them either because they're brainwashed by politics or because they're afraid of getting fired. But can we admit that that's not scientific to do that 1,000 times? They just want to keep the mask mandate there. And with children, especially young kids, when they play, when they go to school, you have to understand they're taking it off, they're putting it on. I've seen so many disgusting pictures of sweaty brown-black masks that are just covered in filth because it's a kid who's playing on the playground or taking it on and off and having all these issues. I've heard of situations where they're covered in blood because someone had a bloody nose but they didn't want to check and they were afraid because they get screamed at by their teacher. You're raising stress, you're raising fear. By the way, stress and fear have a huge negative impact on the human body. You're not allowed to say that. They're just supposed to hurt us and abuse your kids and abuse and abuse and abuse and abuse and abuse and to treat you like trash and raise your stress and raise your fear and abuse you. And you're not supposed to question it or stand up for yourself. Yeah. Screw that. So with children, the obvious downsides to it, not just mentally and psychologically, but physically, are obvious. But you're not allowed to say the obvious because you're supposed to live the rest of your life like a slave, a prisoner, and an abused show animal, because that's what the television celebrities, politicians, and especially Democratic Party here in the States told you to do. Ignore the data in Florida, ignore the fact that there's multiple states that are wide open for thousands of businesses and people are breathing air and chatting. You just live that way, I don't know, for a year, 2 years. It's the 6th inning, says Fauci. Who knows? Maybe it'll go into extra innings if you're lucky. It's time to wake up, folks, because this is bigger than just do you want it or not. They use the term anti-vaxxer to smear anybody that doesn't want to be held ransom for over a year by politicians and big pharma, and then threatened with being a second-tier slave citizen if they don't want to get a big pharmacy injection every single year for the rest of their life, or whatever the government decides. You have no autonomy, you have no freedom. It doesn't make you an anti-vaxxer to reject that kind of tyranny. These people are disgusting, and the more you cave, the more they do. Now they're doing vaccinated-only sections at Yankee game. Oh, how nice. Yeah, we're really progressing here. But I don't want to get into all that. I want to keep it simple and show you that they don't care about your health. We can see the clear connection between obesity and COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths, but a fit, smart, educated, researched, strong population with a high self-esteem isn't good for business. They would rather have a fat, lazy, dumbed down, completely obedient class that will take as many pills as they tell them. Ignore the fact that studies have shown 5% of the population in the United States is taking 80% of the opioids. Oh yeah, they really care about your health. Ignore the fact that life expectancy has been going backwards for the first time. Ignore dropping birth rates. Ignore the prices of lumber and groceries going up. Just ignore everything ever. Ignore studies that show you hundreds of thousands of kids are going to die because of what they did. Ignore the studies that hundreds of millions of people could starve and have food shortages because of what they did. Just ignore everything forever and act like a psychotic drone. It's so clear that these industries, it's so clear that these politicians, it's so clear that these media companies don't give a crap about your health, because what's good for business is people that don't care about their health and are subservient to the fast food, pharmacy, and corporate class that will buy anything they tell them to buy, that will vote for anybody they tell them to vote for, that will inject anything that they tell them to inject, and will cave with the fear of not being able to travel for the rest of their lives if they don't do it. And that's an understandable fear. But the more you give in to these psychotic tyrants' demands, the more you lose. And regardless of what people want to do with their bodily autonomy, with their life, with their medicine routine, that's not for me to decide. People need to wake up and stop thinking that these people care about your health when it's so obvious that they care about money, power, control, and destroying anybody that steps in their way. That's what they care about, not your health. I don't know how many donuts, cheesecakes, beers, and fast food bribes you need until you figure that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this hat, it's at godblesshats.com. That's godblesshats.com. You can get this hat. You can also get a black beanie. I'm also selling tank tops as well. Thank you so much for supporting. Stayintouchwithme.com is my free email list. Sign up there. t.me/dreamrarechat or dreamrarechat is my Telegram channel. I appreciate everybody who shares and watches my videos, because despite how many times the mainstream media tries to defame me and lie about me, no matter how much they try to feed you nonsense, the amount of people who are paying attention is bigger than ever, and that's why they're so upset. The second that they can't just abuse you with impunity, it hurts their sicko little feelings. So stay strong, stay happy, stay grateful, and don't let their psychological, mental, and physical abuse weigh you down. I know they want to hurt you, and we'll be okay. Have a good day. I'll be back soon.